spooky tricks, spooky treats. Oh, wait. We're not and I'm going to have a road trip coming for all of you out there. We're going to decide here just a little bit. But howdy, if you're watching on IG or Twitter or X or anywhere, Facebook, YouTube, Cova Sports TV, we're glad you're with us. And I'm most excited about, I wish I had the anthem all queued up. I'll sing it for you. The World Series, game number 1 is in the books. And I don't root for the US of A when the evil Dodgers are in it. I root for old Canada, my home and native land. True patriot love in all thy sons command. The Jays got it done with a pinch hit grand slam from Addison Barger. He's my favorite player when he beats the evil Dodgers. You're 3 wins away from doing it. Yeah! Eliminate those overrated, overpaid guys from the West Coast who try to buy a championship. We don't need a repeat. Go Blue Jays, get the job done. Oh, Canada, go win game 2 and send Yamamoto and the guys back to the West Coast down to low. All right, enough of me singing before everybody goes to sleep and stops watching this permanently. Let's go through the hits and let's go through the items of note. Because I got a really good factoid I just stumbled upon that I left out of my Hats hits. But I do want to shout out here. And it has to do with the team in the 757, which I left all the 757 friends out of the Hats hits for tonight. That was not intentional. It just happened here. But there were 3 Game of the Night candidates. I'm going to take them in the order that I tweeted them out. 1, 2, 3. Talking about a Southwest Virginia, actually Roanoke game, not Southwest Virginia. Roanoke game, a Richmond game, and a Nova game. Class 3, Region D, my man at quarterback, Mr. Lutz, with James Taylor breaking off a long run. They got a special team score. The Terriers of William Byrd, who got drubbed last week 55-7. One thing I'm always curious to see is how does a quality team, and they're a quality team because they're coming off back-to-back region championships in 3D. How does a quality team shake off a bad loss? And not necessarily a bad loss to who you lost to, but sometimes by a big margin, a wide margin. And they got walloped last week, 55-7 by another William, that being William Fleming, the Colonels out of Class 5. So Byrd had a couple of blemishes, and you wonder just how good they really were. They're taking on Lord Botetourt, who's viewed as one of our top 5 to 10 teams in Class 3, and they win a head-spinning game, back and forth game, led at the half, lost the lead going into the fourth quarter. They score 14 to 20, final 20 points, and win it 42-41. And there's something about these two teams when they get together. It is great theater. It is excitement, edge of your seat, whether the game's in Vinton, at William Byrd, or the game is in Daleville, at Lord Botetourt. Because last year when these two teams squared off, when they collided on Thanksgiving weekend, on Turkey weekend, in the region finals, what was the score, you say? 46-44, double OT, William Byrd. So whether they hook up in the region semis or the finals, which I think could happen, Magna Vista, by the way, one of the unbeatens left in Class 3. But if we get a Byrd-Botetourt game in the playoffs and you live out there, you want to see a great football game, it's worth the price of admission, folks. History tells us that. Recent and not so recent history. That's number 1. Game number 2 of Game of the Night candidates. You can cast your vote on Cova Sports TV or IG or X, wherever you're watching this. Was in Richmond, Highland Springs, Hermitage, another back and forth seesaw affair. Both teams had leads in this one. Springers got up at Chesterford Stadium. Panthers try to come back. They can run the football. They got talent all over the field. They got a Michigan recruit in Andre Clark Jr. But the Springers, as we told you last week, with Antoine Buddy Richardson at quarterback, a converted wide receiver who plays a key role on defense, he's a player of the year candidate, and so too is, have you heard? Byrd is the word. Not just William Byrd, but Eric Byrd. Byrd. Byrd is the word. Byrd. He has not 1, not 2, but 3 rushing touchdowns. He's healthy now, which he wasn't a season ago. And if you're going to beat the Springers and win Region 5C, if you're going to win a state championship, folks, there's a lot of good teams in Class 5. The River Bends, who we talked about last week, Stonebridge, Green Run, Kings Fork and Nansman River out of Suffolk. One of them played Oscar Smith pretty tough for about 3 quarters tonight. 2-time defending state champ Maury, which had themselves a tussle with Lake Tiller and Norfolk tonight. But if you're going to win Class 5, you better be able to stop the run and be ready to handle what the Springers are bringing you with a physical running attack and an offensive line that's getting better. And they can beat you in a couple different ways. Lauren Johnson's no newbie. He's been around the block. His team's got athletes. Good win for them on the road. And by the way, Verona, that matchup, it's lurking. It's not that far off in the distance. People are clamoring for that one coming up. It's coming real soon, folks. Like in hours, days. The countdown has begun in the 804. Hey, Ball Stars was watching on IG. Hey, Ball Stars, how you doing? Do I know you? Will I see you at 1 o'clock Eastern on Saturday? We'll tell you about that coming up in just a bit. Number 3 on Game of the Night candidates. If you're watching on IG or Cova Sports TV, Facebook, wherever you are, interact and tune in with us because we told you about William Bird's 42-41 head spinner with Laura Botetourt, 31-28 Highland Springs over Hermitage. And to Nova we go, Centerville, Westfield, Concord District Showdown. Centerville coming off the 35-32 win over Madison, who's been in a few state championship games under Coach Justin Counts. Lost a few of them heartbreaking fashion last year, Oscar Smith. Centerville's coming off that big 35-32 win, and the Albany recruit at quarterback, Will Shields, leads his team back. They end up winning it after they tied up on a touchdown pass from him with 6 seconds to go. And Centerville, which again was not in the limelight lately. They were in the limelight years ago when they had a guy by the name of Turner at running back, when they actually won a championship under Chris Haddock, who's now the offensive coordinator at Battlefield. But Centerville now has thrust themselves into the conversation, I think even more now in Class 6, as a team that can win Region 6D, make it to a state semifinal, and dare we say find themselves playing for a championship at JMU. Now, there's a lot of work to do. Washington Liberty, they got to see them again potentially. They got to see Westfield and Madison again potentially just to get out of their region. But Lake Braddock took an L on this particular night. The only teams to me that are definitively ranked higher or better at this point are Oscar Smith, defending champ, who pulled away late thanks to the passing exploits of UVA junior quarterback commit Lonnie Andrews III and the return of wide receiver, 4-star Michigan recruit Travis Johnson at wide receiver, and Manchester, who, by the way, should be 9-0 when they play Huguenot to close out the regular season. And maybe we're on a collision course for Oscar Smith Manchester in the Region 6A finals, likely at Beard DeLong Easley Field on Thanksgiving weekend. But, and I emphasize but here, Centerville's won 4 games by 7 points or less. When you have a passing attack that can throw your way back in it and you can win tight ball games, the confidence, the belief continues to rise. Centerville, they're on the rise. So that covers the Game of the Night candidates. Now we'll get to more of the hats, hits, quick hitters, and the finishing touches, and maybe interact with you on some college and some pro and that awesome World Series we now have. Oh, Canada, baby. Yeah, Blue Jays. Smoke those Dodgers. I'm so pumped up for it now. I thought baseball season was over, but it's back. Better than ever, even though my D-backs aren't playing. Numero 4. That's 4 for those of you who don't speak Spanish, Espanol. Big props to the Cortland Cougars, who you can follow on the X or Twitter at rawmeat_FB. I love that Twitter handle, or X handle as we call it now. Why am I giving them big props? Well, they go into Caroline, who was undefeated, and they knock them off. No longer undefeated. 28-21. And it bolsters their playoff outlook because coming into this one, they were like 7th in the power ratings out of 8 schools in Region 4B, which means if you lose or you lose more than once, you might not make the postseason cut. And they didn't sulk when they got hammered 37 donut or something like that by Louisa with the 5-star Michigan recruit at running back Savion Hyder and the wide receiver headed to Rutgers. They're in Piscataway with Dajier Carter and a really good Louisa Lions team that roared on this particular night, put up 60-plus on the board in their romp of Orange County and is still one of the unbeatens in Region 4B. There's just two of them now because with Caroline dropping, that number goes from 3 to 2, and they are Dinwiddie and Louisa. Maybe we see a Cortland-Louisa rematch in the first round of the playoffs. I'm not sure Cortland wants that again. But what I'll tell you is they didn't sulk. They've won 6 in a row since Louisa took them behind the woodshed, and thus they're getting better. They're getting better. Hey, wave and shout out to Oscar Smith Football watching it on the IG special. Good win for them tonight as they pulled away from Nansman in the second half. Got an INT from the UVA commit, Jaden Koval. Reginald Wallace found the end zone. They were slinging it, doing what they do well as defending champs in Class 6. But our fifth and final point here on the Hats Hits before we touch on some items of note. And there are player of the year candidates that we talked about last week on our episode. And then there are MVPs, players that are valuable to their teams. And there's a bunch of them across the board in all classification levels, 6 to 1. I want to hit on one in particular in Class 3 because there are teams that have hangover effects. There are lulls in the season. We saw some games that were tight. We saw some upset alerts. There were some upsets on this particular night, which I'll highlight or circle here in a moment. But Liberty Christian, if they had gone down the night in Class 3, two-time defending state champs who lost a game out of state early on to Ironton out of Ohio, if they were to get beat by the Brookville Bees, if they were to get stung by the Bees on this particular night, trailing 19 to 13, it would have probably been the biggest stunner of the night across the board in the state. Instead, it's not. They rallied to win 33 to 19, and they rallied to win because they don't have any more Gideon Davidson, their two-way stud, who's at Clemson in the ACC. Was player of the year, running back, Gatorade State player of the year. Was just a force, locomotive. Yet they have a really good football player who I think is under-recruited, undervalued. He's got a 3.94 GPA. I know Elon's recruiting him among others, but there should be more than just Elon and others. He's a really good football player. Jaden Coward, 29 rushes, 255, 4 touchdowns. He's, if not leading them in tackles, among their leaders in tackles, plays safety, and does a lot for that football team. And they rally to beat Brookville 33 to 19. And it sets up a monstrous showdown in the Seminole District next week with Liberty Christian and Heritage of Lynchburg, who we put number 1 in the state. All right, Heritage, this is the time to show you that we were right or we were wrong here, putting you ahead of the two-time defending champ who graduated a bunch. This is a massive game on Halloween. Will Matt Hatfield show up in costume? Will he show up at all? Only time will tell. As we're less than 7 full days away from that showdown in the Seminole. But it's possibly going to be on my schedule, either in person or on the stream on NFHS. One or the other, because that's a game I want to see, either live or on the network. Probably the best game in the entire state next week. So there you have it. Those are the Hats Hits. I mentioned some upsets, some surprises. Big one in Northern Virginia, South County knocking off Lake Braddock 23-22 on a field goal. I think I kind of wrote off South County early, and Lake Braddock sharpening up here with the playoffs around the corner. They let them hang around, and you get bit when you do that. And a couple teams got bit tonight in the Beach District. Cox blanks Salem 10-0. 10 donut. It's the first time Salem has been shut out since 2018 when Ocean Lakes it at 9-0. So that is a major hat tip to Tyler Noe and his Falcons on defense with a bunch of guys balling out. Jawan Mack among them. Coordinator Brian Graham gets those guys lined up, right position, prepares them like few out there. They are a team that's starting to show some improvement and progress. They had a scare with Ocean Lakes a couple weeks ago, and they pummeled Tallwood last week, and they shut out Salem, which is something you don't see very often. And in a game that was one of the most exciting of the night in the 7-5-7, Kellum knocks off Bayside 24-21. 3 touchdowns in that game in the last 3 minutes. 2 of them scored by the Knights. Aaron Smith, the wide receiver sensation for Kellum, Jr., who's been balling out all year, gets the interception to seal the deal after the Marlins pieced together an 80-yard drive. So Bayside has the hangover effect from last week's big beach showdown with Green Run. They don't win it. They're in it for about 2 quarters, and it leads into this loss. And now the 3-way tie scenario goes out the window with them and Kempsville and Salem. Both Bayside and Salem come back to the pack a little bit. So it looks like Indian River and Kempsville probably closer to locking up 2 and 3 seeds, dare we say, and maybe Cox jumps up there with them. They could be teetering on the 3-4 line. Their matchup with Kempsville going to decide a lot there. And now Bayside Salem, one of them probably opened up on the road, if not both, in the first round. So missed opportunities there. And a couple other games near upsets. War Hill squeaks by New Kent. That game caught my eye. Beyond a couple games in the 7x7 that just hit on, I was at the Maury Lake Taylor game. Maury was in a dogfight, tied up at the half, 14-all in the third quarter. Freshman by the name of Tawan Pear has a big game for the Commodores with 2 interceptions. Tayshawn Branch runs for over 200 yards on the ground for Maury, and that plays a big role in them pulling away. Matt Williams was superb, threw a touchdown pass. He caught one. He's got the best first name in Virginia, so you got to give him some love. He's a really good football player and a junior who's getting an offer just about every couple of days. And a couple more scores that jumped out at me from around the state on this particular Friday night. Oakton beats Chantilly 35-28. That probably sends Chantilly packing for their postseason hopes. TJ of Richmond, who's been sliding in Class 2 Region A, they were our preseason, one of our favorites right there with Picosin and Armstrong. Yeah, they're now probably going to be on the road in the first round. They were able to hold off Deep Run 31-28 and not have the upset bug bite them. Glenn Allen with their quarterback out for the year, and Ralphie Puccinelli, we wish him a speedy recovery. They fall to Trinity Episcopal 27-14, so a big win for the private school there at Richmond, which has been making some noise all year long. Fleming continues after their win last week over William Burr we talked about. They shut out Northside 26-donut. Weren't a whole lot of, eyebrow raisers or shocking scores around the state. I do think John Henley beating Sharenda was important for them 14-7 in Region 4D. That mattered a great deal. They needed that win. Allegheny, that was a great finish with them and Riverheads. They lost the lead. They recovered it, and Riverheads might be headed for a 5-5 regular season, which is not the norm for Riverheads, who's been, winning state championships every year, it feels like, in Class 1 or in Class 2. Charles King Jr. out there says, Lion Nation, stand up. He's watching on Facebook. We shout out Charles for watching the program. And that pretty much covers it. This was, I wouldn't say a ho-hum night of Friday high school football in Virginia. There weren't a whole lot of one more did jump out at me real quick. And it was a Thursday game, which I'll touch on in a second too. Chilhowie, Coach Reed Sturgill, he got himself a nice happy birthday present. They were my pick for most improved in Virginia in 2025 from 2024 in the summertime when Coach Young and I did our sports talk, 7x7 sports talk improvement picks. He had Lake Taylor, which, by the way, really improved from 3-7 last year to 7-2 now, and looking like a favorite to win 3A. And dare we say, go to a state semis and have a chance to be playing for a state championship in Class 3. But Chilhowie beats Rye Cove 25-14. And Chilhowie's only loss was to Eastside, who we've got number 2 in the state in Class 1. They're coming off a 3-7 season. 2 is Chilhowie. Lost a lot of close games last year. They have really been strong and consistent all year long. So Coach Sturgill gets a nice birthday present. And a score that was really eyebrow-raising was Essex Northumberland. Essex shut out Rappahannock 22-0 last Saturday. Rappahannock had a scare the week before with Northumberland. And Northumberland puts up 42 points in a loss to Essex, 62-42. Essex got torched pretty good on defense in their first game with Sussex Central, who will, I'm sure, be talking about more here in the next couple of weeks in Class 1, as they're looking like a team that has a chance to contend for the region title in 1B, along with Alta Vista. But Essex defense leaky a little bit. Their running game is still very punishing, and they still remain the favorite in Class 1. But I think the points they've given up in these 2 games to Sussex, start the year, and here late in the season to Northumberland, does give some confidence to somebody that could run into them in the state playoffs, perhaps a team from Region 1C or 1D. So a couple of those teams out west, the east sides of the world, might be paying attention to that a little closely here. So there you have it. That just about covers it for us on this particular episode of Hats Hits, the IG Live. The NBA is back. If you missed our NBA over-under picks, go find it on the YouTube channel. Coach Young and I picked 3 each this past week. And I'm not going to change mine, even though Portland was one of them and Chauncey Billups got arrested for doing some not so nice things. Game 2, World Series. Yamamoto for the Dodgers. The righty Kevin Gausman for Toronto on Saturday night. I'm going to say it right here and now, and I hope I'm not jinxing them. If the Blue Jays win this game, game number 2 for Canada, to go up 2-0 on the Dodgers, they will win the World Series, the Fall Classic. Come on, Jays. Don't let the evil Dodgers repeat. Don't let them do it. Don't. We don't want to repeat. Just shows you can go out there and buy every superstar like they've done with Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman and Blake Snell and Yamamoto and Ohtani. I'm tired of their stupid little wave. It gets on my nerves. So there you go. Blue Jays go sock them, rock them, and beat them. NFL, college football, real quickly. Anything really draw me in or catch me for this weekend? Tell you what, I said this. Actually, Coach Young said this. UVA, I'd be a little nervous at 6-1 taking on North Carolina 2-4. I know UVA, by the way, getting some 2027 recruits like Derek Fisher from Bethel, like Lonnie Andrews from Oscar Smith, and now here recently also Gene Jones Jr. from Hampton, who helped the Crabbers. So they're the top dog in the peninsula, beating Bethel on Thursday night. Beating Warwick on Thursday night, 21-14. Crabbers 21, Raiders 14. But that game feels like a dangerous spot. UNC's had a miserable season. They could play spoiler to UVA's ACC championship hopes if they knock them off. For UVA fans' sake, I hope it's just a bad read by me. But that's a game that has me a little. Who would have thought Missouri Vanderbilt's a big game in college football? But it actually is. In Texas A&M and LSU, I think LSU responds for Brian Kelly. I think they have to, and I think they will. And I think their defense will play well enough to give Marcel Reed and the Aggies some trouble. Not a super big week in college football. And on the NFL side of things, real quickly, for Sunday, in the league where they play for pay, although they play for pay everywhere, it's put up or shut up time for the Ravens. They got to win, got to have it, must win against the Bears. I think they'll come through, even though Chicago's much improved. I'm curious to see how that Packers-Steelers game goes on Sunday night. Both those teams need that win badly. And we'll see if Denver-Dallas is exciting as Denver and the Giants was last week. If it is, and Denver's offense does what it does in the fourth quarter, and Dallas's offense is done what it's done with Dak Prescott, that could be a fun shootout in the late window on Sunday afternoon. So I've got my eye on that game. Don't really have a dog in the fight. My dog, they've been dogs all year, the Cardinals, 2-5, and they're just stinking up the joint. Thankfully, they won't lose this week because they're on the bye week. They along with the Jaguars, Raiders, Seahawks, Rams, and Lions. So there you have it. That's going to close out this episode of the Hats Hits IG Live special on YouTube. There again, reminder here, we will not be on 9 a.m. to 11 or 10 a.m. to 12 noon, or we will be on at 1 in the afternoon on Saturday. We're going on with an afternoon episode of 757 Sports Talk. To let me sleep in? No, I'm not sleeping in. I'll be up early, bright bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Have some work to take care of outside the podcast. But we will be on 1 to 3, Lord willing, as Coach Young likes to say. Special guest coming up at 2 o'clock on Saturday. You have to tune in for that. Some interviews, some more high school football talk and reaction with all of you. And we encourage you to watch, to like, share, and subscribe to Cova Sports TV on the YouTube. And we will catch you next time, folks. Have a great rest of your weekend. It's the final one before Halloween. And tricks and treats come. See you later, everybody.